Here's 10 quick questions. Listen to them all and see how many you answer yes to. Do you ever crave approval and validation from others? Do you ever fear criticism and take things personally? Do you ever say it was nothing or it was luck if you're acknowledged? Do you ever feed your fear with sugar, alcohol, drugs, or anything like that to give you some short-term relief? Do you ever feel like you have something to prove? Or you have to prove something? Do you ever want to be everything to everyone and look like you have it all together? Do you ever put anything off until everything's perfect and in place? Do you ever doubt yourself by worrying and getting stressed out for fear that you're going to make a mistake? Do you ever compare yourself to others that may put you down? Do you ever hide your weaknesses or your flaws, or hide in trying to be too busy? Okay, there was 10 questions. Did you answer yes to even one of those? If you did, you may have some fear of not being good enough. Well, we're going to get into this right now. I'm going to give you some tips on how you can overcome that fear right now. All right, welcome to today's program as we continue our series on the 6 biggest fears that are holding you back from being truly successful. Now, if you're just joining us, my name is Bryce and this is Doing Life Today. So if you missed the first 2 episodes in this series, there's links in the descriptions below and some cards up top. Why don't you watch this one first, and then you can go back and watch the first 2, the fear of success and the fear of failure. But today we're talking about the fear of not being good enough. What's been really an eye-opener when we start breaking down these fears is a lot of times some of us don't even realize or see that we're actually dealing with fear in some of these certain areas. And as we that's why I asked those 10 questions, because when I asked somebody when I was vetting this out, and I said, hey, do you ever fear that you're not good enough? No, I feel good. And then as I asked those 10 questions, like, well, yeah, sometimes, or yeah, sometimes, or yeah, sometimes, it's like, holy smokes, maybe I do deal with this. Today, I'm going to give you some tools on how you can get out of that, right? So if you answered yes to one of those, or all of them, or some of them, these are some of the tools that you're going to need and use. Now, the first thing that we have to do is, number one, is we're defining that success. What is true success to us? And as we talked about in the other broadcasts, a lot of people think success is just money or financial, and success is a lot more than that. Success is being whole, right? We want to have success in all areas of life, not just one area. We just don't want to have finances, but then our relationships are crappy, or we just want to have great relationships, but yet we're broke and poor and can't do anything. So we're going for that overall wholeness. And one of these major fears that is holding us back from true success is this fear of not feeling good enough. Right? So what do we do, and how does this work, and why does this happen? Well, from an early age, you were conditioned to compare yourself to others. Like even in school, when we did tests, we were graded, and then we were told, who did what, or who got the A's, and who got the B's, and who got the C's, and who failed, and who has to go to detention, or who has to stay later, or who failed the grade. And so we continually, all of a sudden, we start comparing ourselves to our peers and everybody around us, and it can make us feel inferior, it can make us feel down, it can make us humiliate us, it can make us feel dumb, it can make us feel stupid. But in today's day and age, it's even worse. With social media and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and all these tubes everywhere, you're constantly being bombarded with everybody's highlights. You're looking at their highlight reels. And what we do is we're actually comparing the best in others to the worst in us. So we can't measure up. We're always going to feel lack in that area. Let's take 3 main areas. Let's look at your career and your job. Let's look at your health, and let's look at your emotional, like your relationships. If I had said to you, I want you to rate your career and your job, right, or your business, whatever it might be, 1 out of 10. What would you give yourself? Think about that for 1 second. What would you give yourself? And then I said, okay, I want you to rate your relationships in your life, with your spouse, your partner, your children, whatever it might be, right? What would you rate at 1 out of 10? And then your health. Right? So your diet and exercise or whatever that might be to you, what would you rate your health 1 out of 10? So what did you come up with? Did you have an 8? Did you have a 9? Did you have a 10? Did you have a 1? Did you have a 7? If you didn't have a 10 out of 10, that's you judging yourself and comparing yourself against something or somebody else. What do I mean? Now think about this for 1 second. If you said I'm a 7 out of 10 in my relationships, why is it a 7 out of 10? Is it because, what does a 10 out of 10 look like? Do you know anybody that has a 10 out of 10? Or did you just grade yourself a 7 out of 10 because you know there's room for improvement? In most of areas of our life, there's always room for improvement. But nothing's going to be perfect. So we need to get rid of this perfectionist syndrome that we have in whatever area. So if you're not a 10 out of 10, you got to stop trying to be perfect. Maybe it's a 7 out of 10. Maybe there's room for improvement. Well, that's okay, but you can improve it, right? If there's room for improvement in your health, then you need to start maybe taking some time out to exercise better or eat better, right? If there's room for improvement in your relationships, then start investing some time in your relationships. If there's room for improvement in your job, your career, your business, then start making goals and planning it to get better. But when you rate yourself, what are you rating it against? So why don't you baseline it today? So if you were a 7 out of 10, or if you were 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 1 out of 10, whatever it might be, use that as your measuring stick. Okay, so then tomorrow and the next day and next month, I want you to go back and do it again. But you're not rating it at what you think perfection is, what you think a 10 out of 10 is. You're going to rate it at what you were on this day when you rated it. And did you make improvement on it? Did you do better than that? Very simple. But we have to stop comparing our weaknesses, our low points, to everybody else's high points. We have to stop comparing ourselves to what the ideal of the world says this should look like. The ideal marriage should look like this. The ideal children should look like this. The ideal job and security and career should look like this. The ideal paycheck should be this much. You know that the ideal paycheck is different for every single person. Some people can live with very little and be very happy. Some people need this extra, whatever it might be. So don't compare. Only set the standards for who you are. And you need to have the courage to believe in yourself and who you are. I sure hope you're getting some value out of this so far. If you are, please hit the like button. That would be fantastic. And hey, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification bell, because as we release more of these episodes, you'll be notified so you won't miss one of them. Okay, so again, this fear of being good enough. This is what you need to do. I'm going to sum this all up right now. You have to start before you're ready. You have to understand your strengths, you have to be honest about your weaknesses, and you have to get rid of perfectionism. And when you stop comparing yourself to others and you stop judging yourself so harshly, we're our biggest judge, you're your biggest critic. When you give yourself a break, cut yourself some slack, the fear of not being good enough will start to subside. And then you can harness that fear of not being good enough and propel it to utter success. You can do it. Stop comparing yourself to others. Stop trying to be a perfectionist, and stop judging yourself so harshly. And watch your confidence raise, and watch the road to success start opening up in greater ways. All right, so there's the fear of not being good enough. Hey, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, because the next one of the biggest fears that are holding you back from success in your life is the fear of humiliation. I'm telling you, it's going to be powerful, and I can't wait to show that to you next time. We'll see you again. Hey, don't forget, don't just live life, do life, and do it today.